We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 on the nose. This is the February 1st, 2023 council meeting. And I believe I have my notes. I don't. And that's okay. I'll get her next time. So we're going to open this meeting 6:30, February 1st, 2023. Let's go. Agenda adoption. Any additions, Mr. Patience? Good. All right, then I will get a motion to adopt the agenda. Councilor Holiday, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have some minutes here. 3.1 for the regular meeting minutes of January 18, 2023. Can I get a go forward? Deputy Mayor Kelly, any errors or omissions? I always look at Hazel, she would be aye. All right, all in favor? Excellent, thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Question period, we did have a few, but I will read our preamble to our question period. So question period is a 15-minute section of time on our council agenda for the public to ask questions of council or administration. You can email, text, phone a councillor. We don't care how you get the communication to us, we'll take it and we will run with it. So we did receive a few, but before we go to the councillor submitted ones, I will ask that the public submit any questions, Mr. Patience. Okay, council. Sure, go ahead.
I didn't submit it, but
sure.
Thank you.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Oh, Jackie Cassidy. Physical address?
Yeah.
331 Willow Ridge Manor.
Yes, perfect. Go ahead.
My question is about the intersection of Highway 7 and Government Road. And I've not done a deep dive into your plan, but the traffic is getting so heavy. I've lived here 2 years now, and the traffic is so heavy on that intersection. And the gas station, the traffic making illegal turns consistently off of Government Road, heading to the hospital, into the gas station, traffic, people coming, using the gas station to cut through to miss the light, and people making a left-hand turn coming out of the gas station on Highway 7, which is like so stupid. And I've talked to residents who use that intersection for pedestrian. It's an accident waiting to happen. And I never see any kind of patrolling or any kind of enforcement. And it just appears to me in the 2 years that I've been here, it's just progressed extensively. So what and how and can you do?
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you for the question, Jackie. We actually did have an accident there about a year ago. So pedestrian issue is definitely relevant. And I have seen people cut through there myself, and I know everybody at this table probably has too. So that is a very valid question. So what we'll do is we'll take that question. So normally we have a question period. You can submit it early, then we can get administration to work some answers. So we could have some background information to answer that question. I will look to Manette because she is in charge of CPOs and she has quite an extensive knowledge and background. So if you want to answer what you can, and then what we'll do is we'll take that same question, we'll vet it, and we'll get an answer, text, email to you, or we'll have it for the next meeting. So Manette, you want to give it your best?
Thank you, Mayor Crane, and thank you very much, Ms. Cassidy, for the question. It's certainly pertinent and we are aware of it. I do know that the patrols have increased, but unfortunately cannot be there all the time. Nevertheless, I'll bring it to staff's attention so you can increase those monitoring of that situation, as well as trying to, I know that it's been long for a while and we're in contact with Alberta Transportation to see if anything more to be done, as well as the aware of the property would be the next step to see if there's possibility of signage that would eliminate that left turn away from it's private property, but there is some area there, I believe, that would be sidewalk and town owned, so we may have some jurisdiction over that. However, to say short term, definitely we'll ramp up the patrols in that area. And longer term, we'll take a more serious look at it and report back to the US candidate, Representative Cassidy, as well as council.
Excellent. Thank you.
Just a quick ask, rush hour. I know it seems strange for Black Diamond, I'm thinking, but rush hour, it's like at around 4:30.
Yeah.
It's so bad there.
Excellent. And we will, as Bob said, we'll add some enforcement, and there's definitely some things that can be done to help mitigate some of this. So, all right. Excellent. Thank you. Council, we had some questions in the emails that I saw floating around. Hazel, you had one. Jonathan, you had one as well.
I did. We want to do it as an admin inquiry as opposed to question period. Because I
True
submitted it
enough,
as an
if
admin.
we've got it in admin inquiry, that's fine. Hazel, where do you want yours to live?
Whatever works for you, yeah, great. There's no.
Right now, it's fine.
So, yeah, so one of those we'll discuss in, as part of our closed session.
Okay.
That would be Council
Sounds good.
Gordon's question.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent.
The other one, I guess the answer is simple. This is a question about flags.
Oh, yes.
So I had a resident come to me and
There.
ask if there is any town of Black Diamond flags. Because she would like to have one more as a keepsake than it.
So I think the answer, and Vernon's gonna back me up on this one a little bit. The answer is neither of us have many flags. And neither of us carry a lot of swag, period, to be honest. I know the only swag I've seen from Turner Valley is pins
And some pens.
and some pens, correct, thank you, yeah. So we don't have. Yeah,
It's true.
that is true. So we don't have a lot of that memorabilia, certainly we haven't ordered anymore. But we're happy to take council's direction on it, do a very limited supply of either of those flags. We may want to keep one or two as a municipality for posterity as well, so. I guess the question would be, should we order new flags of Black Diamond, Turner Valley? Or how would you like to deal with this? And I'm sure there's more than one resident that would be interested as well. So how would you manage that?
Okay, Jonathan, I got Brendan.
So if I may through the chair, do we have an idea of what the cost may be? And this is what I'm thinking, if there are residents who want that historical element, we can let them know what the cost is and they can pay for their own flag.
Yeah.
That would be an option that I would consider.
May I jump in before?
Yeah.
So my question is kind of aligned with that. Are the logos of either town still registered to the town, or are they free for the public to use now?
No, they'll still be registered with us.
Okay. Because I was thinking there may be an opportunity there if we allow people to use the logo and they can make their own flags. But I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah,
Okay,
I wouldn't
Okay.
agree with that, Counselor.
sure.
For obvious reasons, we're still through transitions and
Right.
our vehicles still carry those monikers at this point. So we can look into the price of the flagging and get that back to you. I know they're not cheap, and it does amount, it does matter on the quantity you order at the same time in terms of cost. But I can almost tell you for sure they'll be in excess of $100 a piece, absolutely, the raw cost. It could be much higher than.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. And like I say, we're going to take Councilor Gordon's into Canada, so that's fine. All right, any other trends? All right, excellent. We'll move on. Delegations, 6.1, we have in-house today, a delegation from 2023 Alberta Summer Games, host Society Sam Kennedy Chair, and Marika Borovich, Law Game or Games Manager. There you go. Okay, so we have small little preamble for delegates, basically. Just state your name before you start and where you're from and what it's about, which I just did. It's kind of technicality. Other than that, I'm going to give you the floor. So, Marika, for you.
And I'm Marika Bogachow, and 2023 Alberta Seven Games. And I'd like to introduce our chairperson, Sandy Kennedy. Sandy Kennedy and Jim Stokes.
I know what you got.
Well, I'm really pleased to be here. I want to congratulate all of you on your win in this last election. It's really something that now that you've got this nomination, I'm really proud of you. Good job. The 2023 Alberta Summer Games are July 20th to 23. We worked both on that hard to get those numbers the same. We're really pleased that Black Diamond is joining us, and yes, now you're down in Valley. We realize that, and sorry. Some of the things we have to do with Black Diamond, is down in Valley, because if you change that, we have to change your finances, and slowly we have to go and do a lottery to raise some money. We can't raise it, so we have to do these such deals. But no reason you can't get your flag going, your new flag, and have it in the parade into the open events, right, Lisa? Definitely. Locals in Black Diamond will be welcoming, read on the screen of camera over 3,000 athletes and coaches, technical officials. It's going to be quite a pile of people coming with folks in Black Diamond. And we're pleased to share those with you. And the goals of the game are to create a memorable, safe, and inclusive sporting environment for youth, foster a sense of community through cultural events and activities, re-engage in our communities with volunteerism, bolster local communities through increased tourism to produce some we're pretty excited that if we could get any more volunteers from here, that'd be really nice too, because then we would have more hands-on in the areas. The economic impacts are going to be great for the accommodations, restaurants and food, recreation and entertainment, transportation, retail and shopping. It's interesting, the summary of numbers will be 3,000 athletes, and they all come in on buses from all over the province. They're in 8 different zones. They win in their zone when they come in from their zones. And the province brings them into Okotoks where they register. From there, we put on school buses, so the children will participate in that dynamic for school buses. And we figure about 6,500 anticipated out-of-town visitors, and that's a low number. I think the 3,000 athletes is a grandma and grandpa and cousins and siblings. 15,000 projected visitors spending during the event. 1,500,000 projected visitors spending during the event. Athletes will have a mini Olympic experience, participation in the torch relay, open ceremonies, build camaraderie at the center. Food center is going to be in the Okotoks Fueling Lane, just so you know. 14 sporting competitions spread across 13 venue sites of Okotoks and Diamond Valley. 12 athlete villages serve Okotoks will all be in schools. We can't be in gymnasiums up to the windows now. So all those classrooms have to be empty and all the little mattresses put in for them and all that. So it's quite wonderful. Diamond Valley volunteers have been hard at work creating a brand new mountain track. We're really pleased with what's happening. The track will be a games legacy for the time of Diamond Valley. The users can enjoy it for years to come. It's all good in the Black Diamond.
I think it'll be 20 years before it will be processed. So.
The track is wonderful, and we're really proud of what you've done, and really excited to use it. Fundraising needs. First, we made the application in 2018. I was into the council at that time to tell you what was going on. And food costs, as everyone knows, are going through the roof. We've gone from $432 to $665. Transportation costs have gone up $112,000. And facility costs, and that things like even showers. There's not enough showers in schools, so we have to have shower trailers come in and not for the kids have showers. We're going to be busing some of them to the rec center in different places, and then look at the showers at your centers, maybe around the fountain, like there's a really good shower. That's it. But that's sort of facility costs are going to increase a lot of simple things. Some of the partners we've been getting so far to have because our games are exposed there. I don't read them all. I think there's platinum and diamond, gold and silver, bronze and bronze. So there's all kinds of levels for people involved. And Black Diamond, Minnesota, Diamond Valley. Would be interested in stepping up, and we can have a mostly packaging with our students, friends of the games we're working on, which talks about different things that you might participate in. And a suggestion would be the clothing, because in the new logo would be showing off, we should get that one. And the flag game for the open events with flag, flowing for sure for you into the arena. The opening events is going to be in the Dog Stadium in Rehoboth. And like I said, they're all going to be set up. Everyone knows it would be set up for events and the Doc Sanchez. It's quite an event for all moving parts. Just to give you an example, if they're coming to have this food services, they're going to put up a tent with them. Nothing bringing in. And if you know the books is going in very well, but there's no law where you can know the drive. And we'll have the tent that we're bringing 2 litre trucks full of food. If they prepare the food right in that tent, it's going to be a kitchen tent. This group is going to be the caterer is huge, and they can feed 3,000 people at a time. And in that area, to the east will be the reefer trucks and the space that the kids in. And in the showers, the extra showers up to the somewhere to go on the kids in. So when the buses come in, they can't come out. Pull up one at a time, let's pull up 2 at a time, and the kids are in a short period of time. So you can see, the experience to share enough space.
Every 10 minutes, a bus will deliver what your kids 64.
Change the rest.
I'd also like to say to your council that your representative Wes has been awesome. Just gets the correct information right away. How pleased we are to have one of these meetings. They're all in meetings. Thank you, Wes. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry my voice isn't very loud. The link might like to add some more.
Well, he's a slave driver. I was out there raking rocks and everything else, and to get some bottle of water from him was like really tough. But he did grill some awesome burgers. So he has a wonderful group of volunteers. He has been so forthcoming with information, working with us. It's been a joy.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
We certainly are looking forward to this. So it's great to hear that your logistics are actually on point. Sounds like you guys are really thinking hard about every little detail. And that really is the key to success on some of this thing. So, great job.
We're made up of 18 directors and everything from medical, transportation, all the different sports. That's open. There's 2 people with the sports position. But under those directors, there's 73 chairs under them. And then the first part of the movie, we have to walk through the whole game so we can fine tune it. Hour by hour, what everybody's doing with all those people on the room. Because it tests you to fine tune to move kids along.
For sure.
But what we're really trying to do right now is really fundraise. So if you can get any ideas, we want people to back down and turn around. So we can down the road. We help the site, we really appreciate it.
Council, Heather.
So yeah, I'd really like to promote the fundraising. So
Yes.
we could promote on our website and perhaps on our signboards. So I would look to the committee or whoever's handling that to provide something for us to post. So yeah, so that we can get the businesses aware of this, because I don't know that a lot of the businesses are aware of the different levels that they could contribute to. So, yeah, I'd like to see us help promote at least the fundraising portion, I guess. It'd be great. And also volunteers that, that you're looking to kind of bring in more volunteers for the days of the event.
We have a Lions Club, practically, and come and speak to them. And then we'll come back and speak again to the Congress. And last time I was with them, this is 2 years ago when we first started this. We suggested that if you have any ideas of an open piece of ground that you can plant from, because people will stay there because their children are riding their young bike track. That'll keep people shopping and eating in your town.
That's right.
So anything you can do that way, you can dream up and think that will encourage you when your service clubs to do. And Oakville's on the west side of Sheep River, going the highway. We're gonna have a phone call there that we're releasing. And, we're not gonna give them any facilities, if so, even though there's more than one trailer, especially in the bathroom.
Good for 3 days.
And make campfires and so on, but if the people a place that camp. So we keep people in town. There's none of us have to tell us.
That's right. Charlie?
Could I just,
Absolutely, yes.
I just need to ask Heather, would you be the main point of
No,
contact?
no, that go through administration, so.
Okay, so who would I send information to?
To the left.
Yeah, will you have it through Unique as well?
Okay,
I also can speak to this if I may through the chair, which I can sum up the presentation. I'm new to this position, but it's very nice to see you. And we have been in touch and networking with the group and have all of the information we will be sharing with as well. So there's a full campaign that's already been laid out, and now we're just timelining that. So you'll see that soon.
excellent.
Good.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks.
Veronica?
We get in touch with.
James Manager at 2023 ASG.com.
Easy peasy.
Hopefully.
Let all related.
What?
Yeah. And is to dollars on the names it stands for.
Thanks.
587-206-2023. We paid extra. That's all it's fun.
Les, would you like to comment?
Yeah, just some of the items that we were looking at for Black Diamond. We're trying to do a few things. We're going to be involved with this not really torch relay. We're planning to be involved with it from the site to Main to Center Avenue. It took exactly that and continue on. So that'll be on the 19th. Also, excuse me. We're also working on a few projects, like there was an art project then in Okotoks. We're partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, and we're trying to do a commemorative art project here. We're trying to get it done with youth. We're partnered with the Boys and Girls Club on that one. Okay. And the canvas we're hoping to use is the sea canvas at the bus stop.
Excellent.
So that's in place. We are also going to plan for trying to do a small race ahead of time on the mountain bike track. We're going to have a grand opening for it and have a bit of a race to build up some excitement about it. We also want to bring some other events in to help with a few openings. It'll probably coincide with some of that for the new skateboard park, the expansion on the pump track. And we're also working on trying to get a concert as well. We're hoping we might be able to use the concert we have normally with Canada Day, just bump it to during the games. And try to do a concert so we get more people from our local area involved with that piece of it as well. So I'm working on a number of things. We still have a little work on the mountain bike track. We've got a couple of bridges to do, a bunch of handwork in the bottom of it. We've had some pretty good volunteers so far, and I'm sure bunch of them back out. And we're also working with the games so we can get volunteers through their advertising as well. So we're sharing information to do that advertising on both parts.
Perfect.
Anything you're going to do with the site so people can find it. And mapping from the other side of the track is that something.
Well, I haven't signed up for my volunteering yet, so I should probably put myself down as a number so that at least you can check another box, right? So there
And
you
that's
go.
volunteering. Volunteering 2023 page.
Yeah, if I may ask Les, I know that working on the pump track or probably on the bike track is pretty laborious. I was part of some of that.
Yeah.
Any idea the man hours that has been invested already? And then what can we expect? Because I'm pretty confident there's quite a bit of work yet to do, right? So
There is. We've already had probably say in the neighborhood of 300 plus man hours put into it.
so that's
We'll probably have that and a little bit more yet. We still have to do a lot more clearing down at the very bottom. We're hoping I'll get all the settling on the new construction with the snow and everything. And we'll try to get, once we get the bridges done, then we can get kids out there right on it, back again. A lot of the handwork is moving the brushes off the track and some of the roots. That's same work we were doing with the board.
Yeah. We'll put it on call.
As soon as the weather changes, we'll be advertising to set up time.
Excellent. Anything else, ladies?
We could go on all night.
Oh,
So, you know, so we know, so.
yeah, sounds like Connect's got all the information that required to get sharing info for everybody, so that's great. Again, huge undertaking. That's been made.
Can I step in and thank them? Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in. It was a real pleasure to get to have the first introductions last summer at the 1 year launch, and I'm really excited. So thank you to Les, all the volunteers, both of you for taking the time, especially coming in tonight and giving us an update. We're really excited as a community to get this thing going.
I'm just gonna put Canadian rights, you know, since we're going in the back t-shirt, or the front of the t-shirt of the volunteers. If you're gonna do that, it's.
So review all of that.
We're very excited about our new logo. So we'll be putting on.
We're hoping, like I say, I hope we're talking about that tonight because this is a prime opportunity to showcase here.
Just, I have one funny question. I know at the start you mentioned about the restrictions with putting the name Diamond Valley into things. Could we do that on a digital set?
You could do that on a t-shirt, for sure.
Yeah,
You just can't change the name of the Summer Games
right.
because the finances and everything.
Yeah.
The province is set up that way.
I understand.
The way the contract is written is that we have to show the town of Okotoks logo, the province of Alberta logo, and the town of Black Diamond logo. Because those were the three signees onto all of the contractual documents. That's unfortunate.
Yep. Just
But that's the only thing.
Totally
that should- But I mean, in all of our things, we try to say Black Diamond and then in brackets, then town, you know, as a way to orient conversation.
Okay.
And just something for you to consider, that sponsorship package is just a guideline. These are a bunch of people who put some ideas together. We've been thinking of other ways to package information. So as an example, a community fundraiser. If Diamond Valley did a community fundraiser and went to sponsor a sport, unfortunately, mountain biking has been taken. But
Yes.
there's triathlon, there are other sports that you guys could sponsor and have naming rights to. What that would entail is a huge banner in front of the venue that has sponsored by, has a logo of the sport and then your logos and stuff down below. So we're trying to adapt as people identify what their needs are or bring in any of their ideas. We're trying to, you know, work with them the best way we can. So please don't be afraid to think outside the box. We do constantly.
So if I were to say we wanted to take ownership of cycling BMX,
Yes,
we could put our new logo as that.
you could. And the cycling BMX is
Excellent.
great downtown.
Good. Okay. Excellent. No, that's great. It's good to have something tangible that we can look at and discuss. So good time.
Mobile water truck. Drinking water.
Drinking water.
That's what I'd ask.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, the mobile station.
It's hydration stations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this year is anything like last year, you're looking at 30 plus. Kids are gonna be drinking about water.
So you're saying there's an opportunity for lemonade stands in Okotoks and I think there's something can be done here.
We're encouraging that.
There you go.
And they come with James cookies.
Well, you might want to talk to the lemonade committee and make sure that they coincide with the summer games. For sure.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Yeah,
your time.
absolutely.
Have you guys asked Longview about a water truck?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you might want to reach out to them because I know that they're supplying Eden Valley right now with drinkable water through water trucks. So you may just want to ask them if they have one.
We're hoping to have trucks that She filled all the stuff.
It's got lots of.
Just a smaller.
Oh, not a transport. I see.
And actually, it's called a water cow.
Okay.
It is.
Unappropriate name, I guess.
Big as to why, right? Big as to why.
And it has udders.
Okay,
It's.
noted. They don't have one of those.
I am learning so much in this stuff. What are reefer trucks? You don't want to know where my head went now.
Too good.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, as Deputy Mayor said. Absolutely fantastic, really exciting times, and we're looking forward to being part of it.
Appreciate it.
All right, we can do
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Les. And Nick, for your comment. Okay, moving on, 7.1, we have public hearing, we have none. 7.2, bylaws, we do have some bylaws. Advertising bylaw 2023-12. Here we go. Up on the board, Sean, would you like to introduce it, or Verda?
I'll give a quick intro, Mayor Crane. So as you know, we both have different advertising bylaws, both previous communities. So we do need to coordinate this. And this is allowed through the MGA through section 606. Not 606, pardon me. 606 allows you to follow the MGA to pass your own municipal bylaw. This bylaw must go to public hearing, right? To gauge public input into it. So this is a slight variation of both our existing bylaws. I might have Lisa, Lisa actually has put this particular one together, so
Okay.
she's provided a comparison sheet. So the preamble is a little different, which has no bearing really on the bylaw itself. So, you know what, I'm just gonna let you actually read that.
There you go, Lisa, you're under the bus.
They're a very simple bylaw, very short. It just allows us to advertise by methods derived by the municipality as opposed to derived through the MGA. So it does give you some flexibility in using the different multimedias that you can do. So,
And Lisa, as you present that, if you could throw in a few examples of the difference between the MGA and the town. That sort of stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're the chair, council. This bylaw has, Mr. Patience already mentioned, we each have one in existence now. They're a little bit different in the fact that the town of Turner Valleys was very young. We ran into a few problems when we came to some public hearings in the last year. So we wanted to research, redraft, and make it so that it's workable. Town of Black Diamonds was a little more substantial and actually covered a few more points, which would have alleviated some of the issues we passed last year, a couple of our hearings. This new one is an updated version. The reason that most municipalities pass these types of bylaws is, as everybody is aware, newsprint is becoming less and less common. This allows for us to be able to use other platforms. And I think you are all very well aware that the electronic versions are now more common than they are in actual print. Anyway, so this bylaw, as I said, the comparison sheet, there's very little that's changed. I did include a paragraph that was in the Black Diamond bylaw that just said that council satisfied that the advertising methods will reach out to the greatest audience. That's in the MGA, not really necessary to include in the bylaws. So if you guys pass it, you're obviously satisfied that these methods will work for what we're going to be utilizing. Most of them, again, like I said, is to address being able to do this electronically. So using social media, using our websites, our electronic sign, and any other means. This does not limit us to just newspapers. So that's what we wanted to fix. It also allows us to not having to have 2 consecutive publications in a newspaper. Sometimes that gets onerous, especially if you schedule a public hearing around any statutory holidays. It usually creates some problems, as we experienced in the past. So this will help. The one thing that I would like you to note is section 3.1. We put in that we have to advertise on the website a minimum of 1 week. Okay, so we're not required to do more, but this minimalizes at least once. So we can run it as long as we want. So for instance, if you direct us to set a public hearing for a specific date for this particular bylaw, then we can advertise it right away, or we can do it preferably depending on what kind of public hearing what your item you're presenting at a public hearing. You can do 1 week, you can do 2 weeks, you can do more. Sometimes people get tired of looking at stuff, but it's good to have the different variations that we can try and reach the greatest number of people.
Questions for council? Anything clarified? Yeah, seeing none, I'll
Maybe
get
a
a motion.
if you want.
Heather?
I do have a question. So, and I've looked to Cindy's for this. I know because when Turner Valley passed their bylaw, we had an individual from the Western Wheel come and chat with us. And on some points, he made a lot of sense because some seniors their first stop is the newspaper. It's delivered to each home. So that is one reason why we asked for it to be advertised for at least 1 week, even if it's a summary in a local newspaper. So that's my comment here. So I prefer to see that's in there, that especially public notices and public engagement opportunities. I'd like to see them be in the local newspaper at least once. And, you know, like we as a council heard from a resident just recently that came to the meeting and said, well, we didn't see anything. Why didn't you mail something to us about this public engagement? Well, that's not what we do. We adjacent landowners, yes, we would mail, but I don't know, like it just.
I do have a question, if I may, just for point of clarity, picking up on what Councillor Thompson has said. According to the MGA 606 Article 1, the requirements of this section apply when this or another enactment requires a bylaw resolution meeting, yada yada. Number 2 then talks about the notice of the bylaw resolution meeting, public hearing or otherwise must be Article A, published at least once a week for 2 consecutive weeks, at least one newspaper or other publication. So
Keep going, I believe that continues on.
and then it says mailed or delivered to every residency area or given by a method provided by the bylaw. So is that why we're selecting the or? Yeah, because I have to agree with Councillor Thompson, because I know there's many residents who rely on the printed form still in our communities. So I wonder, I know this would just be accepting the first reading site potentially, but I have to concur with Councillor Thompson that that notice in printed form would still be a proper way to go. We still want one.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah.
At least 1 week,
Yeah.
you know.
Cindy?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just talking to RJ, I believe it's Renee. He said the thing that's crucified the last government attending was communication was just their hardest thing that they stumbled on and messed up on is communication. So this is our opportunity to make sure we get it right. So I like to turn, we spend a lot of time talking about, and because you're on the other side, about Turner Valleys. And I think because we get the Western Wheel delivered to every single door, it is It's our best way to communicate, so I like Turnabout's policy on this was, one newspaper for 14 days on the website. Because, I don't know, you can't over communicate, I hope that there is such a thing, especially with residents, so.
Heather, and then I'm gonna go Hazel and then Jeff.
Well, then even going back to the election forum, where many residents came, that was one of their beefs, was communications. And I tend to agree, like, it's up to residents also to look for the communications on the appropriate places. It's not just up to us. We get the information out there, but if you're not willing to look it up, then, but if it's in one local newspaper for at least one of those weeks, even if it's a summary pointing to the website, I think then people have a better, at least it's there. It's a link that people are physically getting in their hands. And so if they don't read that newspaper, not our problem. If they don't read a flyer that goes out in the mail, not our problem. If you're not jumping onto the website and checking on things, like there's a limit to how much communication you can do, whereas some of the responsibility is on the residents. So I'd like to see it at least the same, at least one of those weeks go in the local newspaper.
So if I might, the Turner Valley bylaw read, bylaws, resolutions, meeting, public hearings required to be advertised under the act will be advertised as follows by publishing the title and a statement of general purpose in at least one newspaper or publication circulating in the area to which the bylaw, resolution, or other thing relates, or in which the meeting or hearing is to be held, by referring interested party to our website, and by publishing a complete notification on the town website for 14 days.
Mhm.
So that was ours.
I'm gonna go to Cindy and then I'll come down to you, John. Wherever you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cindy and then John.
Yeah, it obviously had cost implication, and we discussed it at the time that we did ours. And, we had reduced, I think, instead of twice, we did once. No, wasn't that bad. But it still wasn't that much when you think of how often we have hearings and things. It wasn't that significant. I don't have those numbers anymore, but we got them.
They want to use.
Typically run about 180 to 250.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many times a year do they have?
There it is.
I'll go to Johnson, then I'll have comment.
Yeah, one final piece that I'd like to have a piece of information as we discuss this. So if we're going to be looking at the website, I'd like some details as to how many unique visits we get. Some data on the website, like how many people are actually going to the website, because I think that would help me with proper analytics to see the value of posting it even on the website. So
if I might maybe speak to that a little bit. So we typically use the newspaper advertising as a pointer to provide a summary, basic information and point to the website, because often public hearing details are long.
Yeah.
And so by posting on the website, we can post all of the information, including maps, et cetera, that we wouldn't normally post in a typical newspaper ad. So we use the newspaper ad to point people typically to the website for more detail. So I think that's very important for the entire process. We also usually make those hard copies available.
Cindy, again.
I guess there's just something more defendable when you have a resident saying, oh, you didn't let me know, and we say, well, it was on our website and you can't tell because you can't track what used to be on the website, but you can technically track, if they wanted to, that it was in the Western Mail. Like they have I think they have. Yeah. So that's why I like that. And yeah, they do cover a lot of our meetings and our stuff, and we're supporting the free press. So
Okay, so I agree. I think we still have to stick with the newspaper as the pointing agent. So does this satisfy that cog, or shall we insert what Sean read out into this as a a bullet point onto itself, just to cover that base immediately,
Yeah, it would need to be.
right? Because right there, 3.2A, local newspaper or other print media publications. That's what I mean. So we want to add in the 2-pointers, at least.
Thank you for all your comments, very much appreciated. And I don't disagree. We can add that little bit into section 3.1.
Okay.
So following the section 606 by publishing detailed notices in a local newspaper and on the town website for a minimum of one. Would that satisfy?
That'd be awesome. I think that's. I think minimum, right?
Minimum.
Minimum.
Minimum. Yes, the
Happy with that.
minimum.
That's a good simple change.
That will work.
So then we just take it out, then we remove it. Right? It's a newspaper. So if we do that, we'll remove item 3.28. That's what.
The local
It
newspaper.
could, it'll be satisfied.
Yeah, the first, put it in the requirement.
And I think it's, we can't over communicate, as stated earlier. If anything, we have to keep hitting hard on communication when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Especially through amalgamation. 3 people don't hear something. You're not telling us anything that's happening, like Facebook. After everything we said about post office, first comment, what about my mail? Yeah, well, we've been messaging that for 2 years. However, I'm going to tell you again, right there. So let's over communicate. And I think this is exactly what needs to happen. So if that's the only comments,
Would you take
So-
number 1?
Actually,
yeah,
Yeah.
as amended.
Just take number 1.
And then we're giving them direction to do that. And then when it comes for second.
I do have a thought.
I'm going to take that.
If I can pick up really quickly on what Mayor Crane mentioned, would it be overkill in 3.1 to also include the mayor's message?
Like in the newsletter.
Like in the newsletter, right?
We do run a timing issue sometimes.
Yeah, that's the
That's-
issue. right? Yeah.
Mayor's
Other
newsletter follows.
local print media.
But that's only speaking of, like, picking up on what Mayor Crane has stated during the campaign. That was identified as a really good way to communicate. People were like, oh, cool, I love the mayor's message. I know what's happening. So just a thought. As the timing is the challenge.
Yeah, it is. And we can do over and above any of this.
Yeah.
These are sort of your base starting points, right?
Okay, I got Veronica, and then I have Heather, and then I said Nick. So Miss.
Isn't this specific to advertising? Would be more so for bylaws and public hearings, and the rest of the communication can just flow naturally as we see fit.
Exactly. This is more so for statutory and non-statutory meetings, et cetera. That kind of thing would come under the communications policy, which I believe is being looked at. Maybe I would look to Manek for responding to that.
We'll get to that one. I'm sure that's coming down the pipe soon. Okay, thank you. You did want to speak, so if you could answer that question along with. And when is our next
Yes.
newsletter due?
So I had an opportunity to be able to review our communications. It's certainly not a completed task and seems to be changing all the time, but nevertheless, there's 2 opportunities to have printed materials in front of people who prefer that instead of digital. One of them is called Council Connections, the Diamond Valley Council Connections, and that was issued twice a month after every meeting. We do have another edition that's going out. That will likely go to a monthly edition and then bi-monthly would be the Diamond. So in both of those printed publications, there'd be an opportunity to be able to highlight more of the municipal issues that are brought forward to council, as well as any of the decisions. So I've reached out already to the managers to ensure that we've got some of that updated. Also, you're going to see that reflected in the website as we go along. All of it will be informational pieces that they can go back and be able to view it. But I think those 2 opportunities at least will be in printed form and be able to satisfy hopefully that particular market for communication.
Okay. Yeah, so. Give it to me.
In 3.2A, you removed, you just left local newspaper and crossed out the rest.
No,
Just
we have-
remove local newspaper, leave in other local print media publications, because that would cover your mayor's message, the Diamond, and any other local publications, newsletters.
You don't have to say newspaper.
No.
No, because
3.1.
it's in 3.1 now.
Deputy Mayor.
The council agree, or excuse me, the council give advertising bylaw 2023-12 first reading and direct administration to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the OGA
First reading as amended.
as amended.
That's exactly right.
That's what I said.
And we're going to
You
do
just-
a public hearing.
Okay, well, it's, do you want to put date in that? No.
March 1st.
We'll vote on this now. We'll give you a date. Or do you want a date attached to that right now?
I think we would set it up for the first meeting in March. That would allow us the time to do the advertising. Put it in for the next meeting, by the time we get ad deadlines, et cetera. We would do first meeting in March.
Yes, do you want that?
Doesn't have to be. Oh, you want it in there? Sure.
As amended in the first, for the first meeting in March.
That works.
No, it's just. Any points of clarity? Seeing none, excellent, thank you, all in favor. And that is carried, thank you. Okay, 7.22, a bylaw 2023-08, the council committees file. Okay, let's pull up. Now, I expect at least an hour and 30-minute debate on this. And you're gonna lead the church. Well, now, look at the excitement on my face.
Brendan knows, he's not concerned.
Pardon me, Heather.
She'll give you the first motion. Well, I mean, it's second reading.
We'll get a motion on the table and then we can discuss it. So that
Veronica's
council,
take it first.
oh no, I have a question.
Oh, okay, you could.
Yeah, I'll give the motion that
Excellent.
council give bylaw 2023-08, the council bylaw, second reading as presented.
Miss Clark.
So I was hoping this, I'm hoping this is on the agenda for our committee poll. The sustainability committee needs a revamp. And I am busily working to do exit interviews and talk to the people who are on the committee, who have been on the committee, and how we finish this thing. My concern is if we ratify all this today, we're gonna have to do the sustainability committee again. As long as council's cool with that, I don't care, we can do it twice, next week this week. but It's up.
Okay, yeah, I actually asked, about the sustainability today, so I think that's something that we can bring to the committee as a whole, and that whole thing, and we can invite some people. And,
Oh, no, I would be just.
Oh.
It's totally fine, more.
yeah, I'm looking forward to the meeting. Councilor Martin.
I'm gonna ask for clarification on item 12.0 under budget and remuneration, 12.1. Committees may have budgets and resources established in the operating budget of the town as approved by council. So what we thought that was the change we made for the sustainability and the park. So, yeah, to me, it doesn't feel like it aligns.
In contradiction to.
No, this is up in the intro to the budget 12.1, not in the attachments.
I amended the terms of references,
Yeah.
not the body of the bylaw.
Pardon me.
I amended the budget statements within the terms of references, not one in the body of the bylaw.
Yes. So I think that needs to come out. Just for the comment to vote.
Heather, go ahead, and I'd like to just read that for Councilor Merton so she can see what's happening.
No, that's not. It's
Page
page 33 of 76.
So I wonder though, budget and remuneration, 12.1, I wonder if that could just stay in there because it says committees may have budgets and resources established in the operating budget of the town as approved by council. So council can say no or.
Yeah.
So you could leave that there because it is a may, it's not a shall, it's not, I mean, maybe they might need a little bit of budget to do a project that we can approve.
Mhm.
But, you know, like we have taken it out of the terms of reference because really there is no budget
For them.
today.
No.
It would be, it would probably be project based. So then we could look at it if need be. So I don't know what everyone else thinks about just leaving it because it could be project based.
I like being more open. I like being more fluid and open rather than constricted. So I agree with that. Does that make sense, Councilman?
I would just wonder if you can say, maybe supported or opposed to have.
The main word is may.
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
have. It does not say shall have or will have. It's may. So I think that that's okay, Hazel. But
Because the focus is on what the committee receives, right? So we may have is the best.
Yeah, no, I think it satisfies what you're looking for.
Okay. And then
Jonathan, you had comment?
Are you finished with this?
Mm-mm.
No, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good.
Also under Parks and Recreation, the terms of reference, membership and composition. It has that the staff liaisons will act as reporting secretary, whereas the terms of reference for the sustainability and the economic development committee, it is a recording secretary will be appointed to record minutes. So I just wonder, you know, our staff is burdened enough. Wouldn't it be nice that we could just have one of our committee members do the minutes?
Make it consistent.
Yeah, make it consistent. And another item.
Sorry, Hazel, which number is that one that you're reading?
I am on Parks and Recreation, Heather, under membership and composition. So the very last sentence.
Thank you.
It's just a thought, you know, that we have our committee do it, because the other two committees also elect to have their own recordings. Secretary.
Heather?
I totally agree. Every committee that I know of has got its own secretary.
It's just good.
To take minutes, well, no, not really. No, that's wrong. That's incorrect. Because FCSS has a staff member assigned to for minutes and agenda prep and or EDC. Not yet.
No other terms of reference.
Also,
And if I might, we didn't align all those pieces in every bylaw because they were very different in each one. So we tried to keep some continuity, and I believe Mr. Blanc actually probably does the notes from IEDC or formerly IEDC. Pledge services will do the notes from committee of the whole. So, yeah, there's also a challenge sometimes getting the meeting minutes, and there was a thought that if we use staff liaison who's there, we probably have a better chance of having them then. I don't want to say properly, but more in accordance with the typical way we would do those minutes, and then we have control of those minutes and reporting.
So just for the sake of historically then for the BD Parks and Rec, who would take minutes, and for TV, who is traditionally taking minutes?
For Turner Valley, it was just one of our volunteers for a committee member.
And for BD?
I don't know if Chad's out on it. I haven't been meeting it unless isn't here anymore.
Well, that works well, but Parks and Rec first?
So traditionally, the Parks and Rec Committee did have a member of its committee doing the minutes. Sustainability, was kind of waffled a little because we didn't actually appoint staff to that committee.
Okay, and that's where that discussion will come in. Committee, oh, okay, well, I'm totally fine leaving this with the staff member, and if someone at the meeting takes it and hands it over to staff, that's still getting there and makes it easy.
Yeah, but, yeah, I was just gonna, certainly Council Burns keep an eye on administration workload and stuff. That's definitely top of mind. So thanks for bringing that up. By the sounds of things from CEO Patience, seems like it's probably best to keep it in their hands. Is that fair to say?
If it doesn't work, we can certainly adjust as we go.
Yeah,
forward.
that's what Mayor Crane said.
Hazel?
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Into the Parks and Recreation. Under reporting, where the EDAC has meeting minutes for distribution to committee members after each meeting. Minutes will be distributed within 1 week of the next meeting. I like that idea, since he's got, maybe we could include that into the reporting section.
Here.
Right under reporting, that we added about meeting minutes. Under that.
We put that into the IEDC when we originally set up the terms of reference like 4 years ago, with the specific understanding that that would be something our members at large wanted. And it is something that's really valuable for our members at large. They appreciate, if they've missed a meeting, they love getting that update within a week.
Within a week before the next meeting. It's just something to think of.
Heather?
I don't see the need for it to be for every committee. EDC was very involved in the development of their terms of reference, I understand. So as long as those minutes get passed on to the council member, ensures that those minutes from the meetings are passed on to council, as I understand that's going to be a way that we're going to report on that, is by speaking to the minutes on any matters that are important or urgent. So I don't know that we have that in our terms of reference, so it should be.
Yeah, that the minutes will be reported.
Yeah.
To hopefully the next council meeting, and what it should be. Yeah, probably got that in weeks. If I may, through the chair,
Yeah, absolutely.
I brought this to press about 2 years ago, because we have such a gap between our meetings. Sometimes you only have 4 meetings a year. And within a week, Brenda Fenwick provides the minutes. We do a online support of it, but it keeps everything current. There's great value in it. So I see where Heather's coming from. Having those minutes provided to the committee members within a week, especially when there's committee members who've missed. I think there's great value in that immediacy of information.
Good.
So I think that actually could go in the bylaw under 5.5 accountability and reporting,
Yeah.
something there.
Well said.
However, I don't think it's reasonable for a week, because some of these committees don't meet every month.
Well, it's a week of the meeting.
The week of the meeting,
Yeah.
but they won't be adopted minutes.
No.
So that has to be.
The unadopted.
We can only accept them as information
Yeah.
as council.
Yeah.
So we're accepting the unadopted minutes as information.
Formless activities.
So if there's any errors or anything in them, I don't know.
If
I
you'll
don't
notice,
know if that's a cool thing.
Heather, if you'll notice the reporting for the EDC that Hazel's regarding is number 7. The first bullet under number 2, it says meeting minutes for distribution to committee members. After each meeting, minutes will be distributed with 1 week. Those are only to the committee members. It's not coming to council.
No, but I mean, this is what I'm saying, is the minutes that are coming to council.
Those will be the ones that are
Yeah.
adopted.
It should be, they are adopted, the ones that come to council. So I
But
feel
that's a different piece.
that's where I was going with it.
Sorry.
No, it's talking.
I think it's EDC is fine doing it their way. It's in their terms of reference, but I don't necessarily agree that it should be in every terms of reference. Unless that committee, when they review their terms of reference, feel that they want to go that way. So, but I'd like to see it under 5.0 that the committee minutes, the adopted committee minutes, come back to council. So adopted, it might
At the next
be
meeting.
6 months, like for your emergency management committee, you might not have a set of minutes for a year. Or even public hearings, sometimes you don't have any minutes or whatever, but as long as they get back to us. SDAB minutes, you might not have those minutes for however long.
Lisa, go ahead.
If I may, we usually only include adopted minutes. That's why when we do the council procedures bylaw, that's why we wanted one component that Black Diamond's agendas have, our council reports, so that they can report the committee meetings, what's going on. That way you guys are kept current, what every committee is doing, which is very helpful. Turner Valley never had that. I know in previous municipalities, that's the way we've always done the committees. It was like Councillor Thompson said, your emergency management once a year. However, your committee members should be informing the rest of your council what happened at that meeting, just to keep everyone up to date. That's a really good way to keep everybody current.
I think we're all agreeing, actually.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think we're just beating around a dead horse. So if the horse is dead, dismount, make a motion. Let's go.
Motion's on the floor, man.
I know, that's not.
There is a slight change in the composition of EDC under number 3.
Mhm.
If I'm reading it this way, the way the numbers are set up. Number 1, 2 and 3 apply to number 1. So if you're reading it that way, 2 and 3 should be Article A and B. Because number 1 tells about the composition, and then number 2 and 3 give specific clarity on that composition as identified in number 1. Oh my goodness.
It scared me. A little drawing right down the pipe. Yeah.
So that's just a minor piece, but the way it's written, numbers 2 and 3, they're really actually back to number.
I think that's correct. Yeah, good catch.
Okay.
We have 1A, 1B.
Cindy?
And thanks, by the way, for putting that business interest in there. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like the wording on that from, it was kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's because they're not from your town.
Right.
They're residents. It's just business interest within the town.
yeah, that
And
from
from
doesn't need to be
needs
there, you're right. Yeah,
I was gonna mention.
it's an
but
expert
it's further.
preposition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. And then,
I would just like to get this done. I know sustainability needs work, but this is easy and faster than later to change sustainability. But just get these files going to the other things. So try to just get it done.
Well,
Is there a motion on the table?
There is.
when we get to refining sustainability, at least we just pull from all these as leading documents, right? So, so we had some slight changes in there, is that correct? Okay, so then it's amended.
Yeah, for the amendment. That's amendment.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor? Excellent. You? Veronica?
Okay, council, to 2023-13, council, please, bylaw, third and final.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah.
All in favor? This is like 1994 here. It's good. Okay, that one's covered. All right. Yeah. Action items, community support.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you want this brought to the February 7th committee of the whole?
Just to deal with sustainability.
Do we need a motion on
I think we
that?
are.
Put it in an email.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's coming.
Do you want me to make another motion?
We just curious.
No, it's on the,
No, not yet.
it's not.
Make a motion.
Well,
It's the sustainability one that you want to review.
Sunity. Put it on the agenda. You want to make a move? Make a move.
I want to make a motion.
Make a move.
Thank you.
just do it.
That
Jeez.
council agree to put the sustainability review terms of reference on the next,
February 7th,
the next.
10:30 again.
I'm new to this. It tells me anything.
Just get her in trouble. I'm okay there. February 7th.
Good.
All in favor? There you go.
Actually, I'm voting against that one.
Okay. Here we go. Action item 8.1, community support fund request, Chief of Library. Can I get a motion to move ahead on that, please?
Absolutely.
Council approved the Chief River Community Support Grant, application and request for the amount of $500.
And as the maker of the motion, we'd like to speak to the motion.
Yes. So we are busy working on 40th anniversary of the Sheep River Library. It'll be on Saturday, April 29th, pardon me, from 1 to 4. And we're gonna have some music, ceremony, cake cutting, entertainment, drumming circle, a magician, possibly some belly dancers, food and beverage, and some really amazing door prizes. So we have $1,000 in cash prizes, a half-day horseback ride, a golf and dine package, a dog's family pack, and a pool pass. And so in preparation of this celebration, invitations have been sent out to the schools in the area, inviting students between the ages of 7 and 17 years to participate in a literary contest. So you know, yeah. So they have been asked to expand on 1 or 2 topics. What does the library mean to you? Or what do you think the library should look like in the future? And all of these entries will be eligible for some great cash prizes.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we're really excited. Saturday, April 29th. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Any comments? Sounds like a great thing to me, Cindy.
Because community support fund was a Turner Valley thing, I don't know what happened in what time. When are we going to have the discussion about how this looks moving forward? How is everything's happening? Yeah. Because, well, I love the idea of it and all. It seems to be an administrative burden in some ways for small amounts of money that few people know, few organizations know. I'm just wondering, I don't know what happened in long time, so if you could tell me if they had something similar to this.
Certainly. Thank you, Councilor Holiday, through the chair, Crane. So a little bit of history on this. If those of us who've been around for a little while recall that there were a number of donations that would come to council or they come to the CAO, and they were handled in a way that was inconsistent. We didn't really have a policy on which to base any of the decisions. It was simply, oh yeah, that's a great presentation, so they're worthy of it. And there haven't been specific budget dollars that were set aside for it. So we held the policy, it does need work for sure, and we held off on it for a while because we were anticipating an allocation. But with that, it was really meant just to offset some of those minor costs. It also grew out of a little bit of need through organizations that were requesting that the fees to the Fire and Garrett Hall be waived when there was any kind of a fundraiser or something that was nonprofit. So we're at one point waiving more fees than we were collecting. So what this would do is help offset those rental fees, and then we would be able to track along the way. So it expanded also into the corporate support. So there's a total budget of 10,000 that was applied. Corporate support was meant for sponsorship. So again, as we receive these types of requests, And there's a certain amount that was put out there, and then there's criteria set by which council would be able to make the decision in terms of really evaluating the benefit to the community. That would include anything from charity golf tournaments or any kind of tournament really, or maybe sponsorship of a hockey tournament, those types of things. So yes, it is a little bit of extra work for administration, but it does bring it to public, in the public view, and makes them aware of the donations that are made. Town of Black Diamond, I would defer to Berna, but I do know that they have an event, what would you call it? It's an event or sponsorship grant program in the amount of $1,500 per application. And I think it follows the same set of criteria in terms of the value to the community, the attraction of visitors, the potential for any type of economic impact.
Yes, it did not permit sports events. It kind of covers all of the events that we did just not talk about.
So it wouldn't have done triathlons, for example?
Or the summer games.
No. Maybe I could just touch on that as well, because the summer games, it's not something that is going without cost. Not only are we supplying facilities, but we're also supplying, a lot of volunteers. So my understanding, and I'm still digging into this, is that we're not getting any direct cost recovery for anything that might be going to the mother organization of the Town of Oakville. So we are still responsible for fundraising a portion of certainly completion of facilities, and then undertaking some of their own advertising costs to a point. We will share all of their communications, and to my knowledge, I don't think that we're being charged for any of the larger advertising. But this type of thing, when we look at sponsorship, we have to look at the value, and it's one of the reasons that comes to council is for you to be able to be to fairly, with all most information that we can provide, all the information to be able to make a decision on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to that point, while we're on the summer games, just to fill all of council in. To my knowledge, we at least approved 70,000 to go towards the mountain bike track. Initially was 70,000, so we're at least into that at this point, and that was Black Diamond. Last spring or summer, council? Yeah, so just for your information, we are, it's not like, to Monique's point, we have contributed not only volunteer hours, but there was a financial cost. So we're probably somewhere around that 6-figure number, I would assume, just for council's information. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Holden.
That's interesting. So we don't make it on their list of sponsors yet. We've
Yeah.
paid a whole lot of money. I kind of find that difficult. And yeah, that should have gone.
I'm not fully aware of it, so I don't want to make any comments to that effect, but as I dig into it, that appears to be the case.
Yeah. And so, and my other issue, like, I love the library, and we're one of their best customers, our family, but we also pay a lot for the libraries. Then to come back in a community support grant application, that seems a little off to me, but so I would just like a larger discussion.
Once we get that.
I've got Hazel.
When they do, does some of the funds from the Crescent Point lease payments, does that also go into the community support grant?
Thank you through the chair. Not to my knowledge, those have been applied to the facilities, but I've really lost track of where those are. I'm not sure that they're continuing. I believe that those have ended, but I'll certainly be happy to look into that and report back.
Would you? Thank you very much.
Excellent point, and I do remember that helped support all of our facilities, especially for.
Thank you, Lynette.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Good. Heather.
I agree with Councillor Holiday, actually, that, and if you look at the event project budget, they've gotten a donation of a corporate donation of $3,000 from
here. Not yet. It has not come through.
Okay,
Says it should.
or past confirmation by the end of January.
Mm.
The library is a treasured thing in our communities, and I agree that we all use it, but you know, the library, kind of planned ahead of this and budgeted for it. You know, like we maintain, it is the town of Diamond Valley's building. We maintain the building. They pay a minimal cost lease to us. I'm actually not in favor of this grant.
May I speak just with a bit more detail?
Sure.
I do believe that this has to be separated out from the operating funding that's provided through budget. While this may have been anticipated last year, it may not have been formed up until currently. And I would also suggest that the cost would go, and potentially we can direct and put conditions on this, and it would go towards supporting volunteers. Majority of the work is being done by volunteers, and to be able to acknowledge and support their contributions would be important as well. And that's, I believe, the benefit of this particular grant towards this type of activity.
Thank you for that. Okay, I'd certainly look to see that added to the motion if that's suffice, Hazel, to have the money directed to support volunteers.
I can do that. Yep.
Thank you.
Great. And just add one more final thought. It was to do with the first question that I don't feel that I fully answered.
Okay, sure.
We are reviewing the policy of both communities, and then we will be coming forward with a recommendation, probably to committee of the whole for discussion. And that would be a way to blend those, take a look at the other criteria. In the meantime, this is part of what both Black Diamond and Turner Valley passed in their interim budget or their 2023 until such time as Council of Diamond Valley has a chance to take a look at the combined budgets.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Questions are clear? Okay. Cindy,
Is
go
that
ahead.
a February committee of the whole or?
That's gonna be a long one.
Take the day on that. I'm thinking it's probably the next one
We got
after.
a few towns coming up, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we traditionally don't get a lot of asks in the winter either for that community support grant, so.
This is gonna be an awkward conversation until we do it, so I'm just wondering if we can maybe suspend taking applications until we get it finalized. So I'd be happy to make a separate motion, so you have something to tell people, okay, we haven't reviewed this yet, and so we're just suspending it temporarily.
That's
It's gonna
good.
be awkward.
That's a good.
Okay.
I do have a question, because the way the policy is written, and I know Councillor Hall and I were having this conversation earlier today about this policy. Just for point of clarity, I've always had a little bit of uncertainty, especially when it comes to the library. How do we put the library into a community organization? Because we do have the library in our annual budget. It's already funded through that. So how does it, like, I'm struggling to see how I would differentiate the library as a community organization. I see our Oil Fields Sports Association as a community organization. I see our other community organizations that are identifiable as such, where I don't know that I would put the library in that. So if anybody either on council or admin can give me a little clarity in that, because I don't see it, and that really hinders me from supporting this request. I understand the event is special, but it's not organized by a community organization.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's organized by the president.
Exactly.
So is this, you said maybe make an application as opposed to the committee?
I'm not quite sure, because it's, the library itself is
Funded by-
it's funded by the towns, it's funded by, they have the finances. So I don't know that this really fits the parameter of the policy. And that's why I will support any motion Councillor Holiday makes about let us review this, make sure we align it between both towns, articulate exactly, like Ms. Staples has already mentioned, the one town was supporting non-sports, the other town supporting sports. So there's a lot of conflict here, and we're aligned. Let's see what we can remove as soon as possible. That's my concern.
might be one of those instances where we postpone this particular discussion. We've got a bit of time till the end of April, and we can come back to it. Rather than set that wheel in motion. Because it doesn't sound like we have a lot of agreement as to where this wants to go, and a few different levers need to be pulled more to be prepared. So I would be quite fine if you just withdrew the motion.
Okay.
And then we can postpone till further.
So we get further information.
Yeah, and we can probably throw in.
Okay, close here. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Can you guys make my motion?
You will. Yeah, you will. So first we'll ask you to withdraw.
So I will withdraw the motion.
Okay, and that's totally kosher. Fair enough, Lisa? Good. Okay, and can I get a motion to postpone this discussion to a further council meeting?
And I will make the motion to postpone this discussion to another further meeting when we have all the these.
Okay, all in favor of that? Yeah, excellent, thank you. And now Cindy, take your motion.
Yeah, just a motion to direct administration to suspend taking support. I didn't even say a line, actually, you just.
Yes.
Just,
Yeah, just.
we're gonna review it, because we
Review.
might come up with something totally different, it might not be a line.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be anything we want.
Developing.
Yeah.
We also
develop.
wanted to suspend the
Intake.
ED applications as well. And
That's what Black Diamond is called.
Oh, okay, so we have community support, corporate support, and EDS.
economic development.
Economic. Yeah,
Yeah, all three.
I'll break it. Yeah.
Thanks, Brenda. It's
And if anything, we're gonna be discussing budget.
community support grant and corporate support. too.
Yeah.
Turn around.
We can always accept extreme special requests as a delegation. And
Everyone can wait.
Yeah. It's not a big deal.
After the event.
I think,
They're gonna go after them.
okay, everyone clear on the motion made by Councilor Hopper? And all in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Moving on. Reports, 9.1, committee minutes requiring council acceptance. We have none on my agenda. Okay, 9.2, reports for second meeting. I have none. Thank you. 9.3, administrative inquiries, staff reports. We received staff reports, email, and Councilor Gordon, your administrative inquiry is going to closed session.
Yeah.
All right, so as the mayor has in front of him, it's correspondence. Yes, sir. I will have you speak to it. For information.
To the letter? Yeah, sure. This is just a follow-up from our meeting in the fall. And just, kind of extending, thank you for meeting and saying that he looks forward to working together in the future, as we work through amalgamation. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was nice to get it.
I'll just follow up with one other RCMP tidbit. We will have a new staff sergeant. They're working through their process, but the letter of offer was sent and accepted. So when the RCMP gets through their end, we will have a new staff sergeant dedicated to development. Well, it's still called turnabout and test. It's not about.
So have you touched base with them? Are we going to start seeing our quarterly reports and our policing plans again?
We will, they're being sent through to the CAO right now.
I may have gotten those today.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
I know I got not moments yesterday, but I might have a quarterly report. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
I thought I saw it leaving your office. So.
Yeah.
In addition to this, I might.
Yes.
So I've been in contact with the RCMP to set up an initial meeting to get the contract discussion started, which is set for February 16th at 1 o'clock. And somehow the RCMP got in the email string between council, but I can't make that date, or I can't bet this.
To watching everything we do.
They are now.
There are TFP.
So I got an email this morning saying that they're checking with their staff to see if they can move that meeting to 6 o'clock on the 16th instead of 1 o'clock, and would that help council members?
We have an see that.
Well, you were quick on the calendar.
It's very important.
It's our strategic.
Very-
To Monday,
Thursday.
Monday.
Oh, I'm looking at.
Every 16th is a Thursday.
Thursday,
Thursday.
you might be on January 8th.
Yeah, you're on January.
I thought there was February 13th.
13th or 16th?
16th, I probably just wrote the wrong date.
Right, okay, 13th, okay, Monday.
That's your, because I put it in my calendar.
That's a go.
May I, through the chair?
Yes, please.
Would we anticipate that meeting to be 3 hours long at 6 o'clock as it's scheduled on our calendar?
Possible, I'm actually just pulling it up.
Okay.
I would expect.
Well, if they have it slated here from 1 to 4 as it stands right now, I just wanted for clarity.
Yeah, that's a big
That
one.
would be a long meeting.
My intro meeting with Mr. Janney was over 2.5.
Right. And we're gonna have lots to talk about. Okay, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. The meeting's gonna have to happen regardless.
Yeah.
I think more people around the table from our side would be beneficial.
Yeah, we need to stress our concerns and reinforce them. So, I can make 13 work.
What time?
I can make 13.
Yeah.
It's 6:30.
I could do it.
Yeah, you've already all commented on that date and time, by the way.
Well, it shows that we're
Just the
still
one-
aligned up here.
Just the
We
1
even know.
o'clock. They're suggesting if it helps, they could do it to 6 o'clock.
I think we do that. 6 months. And that'll be here, right? We're not traveling to them, they're traveling to us.
Before we turn it out.
Please, please confirm 6. And yeah, we could go to Turner Valley. Council chambers.
Should we supply pizza for?
I think we should.
Yeah, be nice gesture with the
It'll be
RC.
some nice lunch.
Okay.
We're
Dinner.
doing lunch and then we're doing dinner.
There's a chance to lunch.
Yeah, we're gonna give them something, okay? And then they're gonna give them something again.
So maybe February meeting, we can set aside something. Would we need a motion for that? No, we're just good. Okay, set up
Take
pizza. Perfect. Okay, you got great.
Yeah, okay, good. So that's confirmed. Now I'll take a motion from you, Deputy Mayor, to accept that for information.
I will give you that motion.
Excellent. Thank you. All in favor? Town of Accord to Minister of Health.
I'll give you the motion to accept this information. It's a bit dated. Some of the amendments that have been made by AHS are meeting their concerns there.
Yeah.
And so really looking forward to getting some reports as to how they're implementing these requests that have come loud and clear. If I can say, I'm really impressed with our MLA, RJ. He listens to people. He's the parliamentary secretary moving forward with this. And he's done well to implement many of the requests that he's heard from Albertans. And now we just have to gather the data. The next, we've moved our fresh meeting to April to get a report from him about the first quarter metrics with all the changes that have been implemented. And so hopefully I'll have a good report then.
I will say this one thing because it's fresh on my mind. So I just left the basketball game, see, in the first quarter, one of my players broke his arm. I mean, broke his arm, both bones snapped clean. So as I was administering first aid, our teacher rep was on the phone trying to get an ambulance to come to the school. I had finished her administering, splinting and removing and placing him in a car and sent him away. She was still on the phone trying to explain where Oilfields High School was to the operator in Edmonton.
Yeah, the regionalization, the dispatch, that is still a concern, right? There's So if I can just touch on that real quickly.
Sure,
That-
because I just gave you the ammo.
That report just came out of the PricewaterhouseCoopers. That report was just part of the report that RJ has brought forward. And the centralized dispatch is actually a quality model, but there's gaps in Alberta right now. And one of the issues that has been overcome is the CAD to CAD, where prior to within the last year, because of the centralized dispatch, our ambulance services were getting a call that had to go back to Frest, and Frest had to send it back, but it wasn't computer aided dispatch to computer aided dispatch. So there was a lag. So that's been overcome, but still the ongoing issue is the use of colloquial terms and not using the street names themselves. So for instance, a local resident might say Tongue Creek Road. And because it's centralized dispatch, they're like, where's that? So that's very much on the radar. We're still having chats with RJ about getting back to regional dispatch. So,
Okay, motion to accept for information there, all in favor? Good, thank you. And a letter from B. Blackman, about the Black Diamond General Store. Heather Thompson.
I did a little bit of research on this, and what Mr. Blakeman is looking, and it is a historical building. I don't know that it is the oldest one in town. I think we've got some pretty antiques down the street here, but it is a very nice building. It's standalone. A lot of the buildings on the street burnt down at one time, so but he doesn't mention here, so he's selling all 3 lots, is that my understanding? And so there's 3 lots there, one on either side of his of the store. So the potential is there that whoever buys the 3 lots, or if they're singled out, then they could actually apply for a grant through the Alberta Heritage Grant. So $50,000 is available for municipal historic places. It is a matching grant. And there is another $25,000 for studies, reports, and professional services. So that's if the municipality chooses to take it on, to restore it or move it or whatever. So 75,000, but then it's matching grant, so you have to match it. But individuals can also apply for that. So I would suggest that Mr. Blakeman apply for that, or the purchasers apply for that if they so desire. I don't think that this is one that the municipality can take on. Number one, where would we move it to? And the costs to do that and restore it. So I would suggest to Mr. Blakeman that he look into this grant. Unfortunately, the deadline for applying for that grant was February 1st.
Councilor Gordon?
So
yeah, if I can follow up, and I thank Councillor Thompson for her searching out those details online. One of the things that I found quite interesting was Mr. Blakeman's request to move the property or move the building to a different location. There's a couple of challenges when an individual submits their own application for a historic building and it's through the Alberta government. One of the caveats is it can't be moved from that location. And so perhaps the request for our municipality to do it is because then in our municipal bylaw, we can then put it wherever we like. But my concern if we do that are twofold. First of all, if we go through municipal bylaw, the minute you have a historical designation, that property is likely to be decreased in value. And we would have to go through a compensation hearing with Mr. Blakeman. He would have to agree that we are then going to compensate him for the difference. This next problem with that then, and forgive me for my insurance background here, is that historical buildings are difficult to insure. We can find places for them, but it's very much a hard market for them. And the reason primarily is that if there's any insured peril loss on a historic building, any repairs have to be done to the status of that historic building. And the cost can be astronomical. So for those 2 reasons, I think it loses its historical value if it's moved from the place. And so for that reason, I support Councillor Thompson that our council doesn't move forward with any action on property. Thank you.
You, Councilor Buttons.
Interesting idea. I think of a million things to do with the building, but we just don't have a long-term plan. And the Leighton Center has historical designation. I was talking to the lady, the executive director, and the thing is in such disrepair because they can't find contractors who will fix it to the correct standard. There's a light that has burnt out, of a light fixture that doesn't work. And it's on back order because they have to get a period piece or have one recreated. So you're getting a lot if you get a historical designation.
I like it when churches are historical because they got money and they answer to nobody. We answer to people and we don't have a lot of money, so. I'm 100% saying good luck, have a great day, thanks for letting. We can send them some recommendations, ideas, but I have zero desire to see another building timepiece moving along through that.
I agree.
Turner Valley just cleaned up downtown of a lot of old buildings, and that looks a lot better.
Thank you for an opportunity just to comment on this. I was the Main Street coordinator between the years 2000 and 2005, so I'm very familiar with all of this.
Yeah.
There is a lot of historical information research that we can share with Mr. Blakeman that I'd be happy to pull from some of the archives.
Yeah.
They are within the town of Blacktown, but I'd be able to dig up a copy as well.
Yes.
And just as councils already said, there would be a requirement for municipal designation prior to going forward. This is something that is fairly detailed and not necessarily recommended in terms of being able to move up to the property, but certainly I'd be happy to share any information that I have and then applying so quickly to provide some information on to have the information on those questions.
If I might, Mr. Ross actually provided some information which I did pass on to council. Would you like to speak to that any further, Rod?
No, I mean, I don't have much to say. Having lived in the community for a number of years, I know that there's a lot of sentiment in the community around the role of that store played as a general store for decades. It's unique. It's in very, very close to original condition, I would think. Hasn't been modified over the years. So, yeah, it certainly is a large, to be a significant undertaking to try and preserve it. It's relocated. Yeah, the ideal scenario would be for the owners to renovate it, restore it on site. I think that's highly unlikely. Property will be redeveloped.
Yep.
And if there's no municipal action taken, it will likely be demolished. And you'll hear.
You can always auction. Auction that building up. Yeah, it's still something to move it. Okay, letter to accept for information. Thank you for your comments, and by all means, send them an email. Link them to some sites. So I think it's his to do with what he wishes to do. Motion.
No, I'm thinking our planner is giving us a good warning that you might want to think about. We're going to hear about this.
What?
This is, I moved 2013, so I'm only 10 years, so I think it closed right, before we moved here. So I don't have that, but there's a lot of people that do.
200,000.
don't think Yeah. But if there's anything that we can do to assess, we don't have the money and the time to deal with the project, I don't think. But if there's anything we can do to assist with information, I think we should make a motion of that to assist the owner to purchase it ourselves. I think we should do a little bit more than pass it.
Monday said she'll supply all the information from the 2005 study. She did a whole downtown redevelopment at the time, right? So they have a lot of information already. So.
Yeah, and I know that there have been interest from people on the Turner Valley side of the Historical Society or museum type
connecting parties that way, I think is a good idea. Even if we don't want to take it on, if there's funding, grants, resources, things out there, we should let them know about it. People that are like-minded, you know who I'm talking about, you know, that they might have an ability to get something done.
Yeah, so I hear you.
Well, and the purchasers of the property may,
You may want
they
to.
want the building,
Yeah.
you know, so they may want to use it as is. So I think we're kind of making decisions before we actually know what's going to happen with the property. It's for sale. Whoever buys it may want to keep it, or they may not. So I guess then would be when we would take a look at if we as a municipality would want to move forward with anything. But I think it's kind of like putting the egg before the chicken at this point. Thank you, Rod. I didn't see this till just now. So this email, ouch. Thanks, Sean.
So I can put a motion for administration to provide whatever information we readily have available on this building and the history, as well as some potential contacts of individuals that might be interested in discussing.
Except for information and add those two recommendations. Okay.
Yeah.
So what the Nick said plus, what's the last part?
Contact.
Context part, thank you. And Nick knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, so as a formal, did you get that as a motion? Thank you.
We're gonna keep it nice and gray. Hey, we like gray. I like how you painted the walls over here gray to keep everyone in the mindset of keep it gray. Listen.
It is a neat building, and it would, I think it would be, that it would suck for it to be this right.
Just like.
I can do it quick. Good job. Great motion.
I would like, we don't have much old stuff. I mean, it all got carted away, like I know in our own property. They take buildings and they moved them all over the place a zillion times, and they stuff ended up wherever, and you don't, I mean, go to Heritage Park and.
You're finding the heritage.
Yeah, so.
Hold on, maybe they want to buy it.
Hey, now we're talking. Diamond Valley's edition.
You can take the gas plant too.
Yes. Cindy, are you done? Because I'm going to vote by myself here. Okay? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna take a little recess here. And when we come back, we're gonna go into closed session. So 10-minute recess, actually 8:30. And then we'll move into our closed session. We are now reconvening at 8:32, and could I get a motion to go to close, please? Councillor Kloiber gives us a motion to close to discuss 3 items under FOIP section 16 and 24. All in favor? Excellent. Give us a 10 count here.